the first-time home buyers that buy them, you're going to be dealing in the bulk of where the action is right now in the market. 80% of residential properties sold in the last year were sold to first-time home buyers. Now, I have a great friend that offered me a piece of advice years ago that I want to share with you now. He said, Cam, let the market speak to you. In other words, let the market tell you what it wants. And then he went on to say, if you try to tell the market what it wants or needs, you will get thumped. The market is speaking loudly to us right now. First-time home buyers, entry-level homes are where it's at. Why? Because there are unique and special financing programs available to first-time home buyers only, like FHA, like USDA, and like other conventional lenders who have specific programs for first-time home buyers. There are lower credit score requirements for those first-time home buyers. Did you know that FHA will write a loan or will insure a loan for a first-time home buyer with a 580 FICO score right now? 580. There are federal, state, and local incentives out there, too. There's a $3,000 closing cost grant here in my county for first-time home buyers. That's just one example. First-time home buyers make emotional buying decisions. They're not as picky, so they're easier to please. They're easier to deal with. Guys, I'm going to say it one more time, and then I'm going to move on. Deal with entry-level homes in this market, and you'll be glad you did. It removes risk. It's where the activity is. It's where the inventory is. It's where the buyers are. It's where the business is actually working right now. The mortgage markets are frozen with the exception of first-time home buyers. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual strategy. If you're dealing in entry-level homes that eventually sell to first-time home buyers, you're in the right part of the market, okay? The actual strategy that I'm going to suggest that you pursue is what is commonly called wholesaling, and that is where we buy low and we sell low. So we don't fix the house. We don't deal with contractors or repairs. We don't actually sell it to that end user who is a first-time home buyer. Instead, we find this house and we sell it to an investor or a rehabber or a landlord. Now, the way that this works, there's only one way to make this work, is you have to sell cheap. You've got to give your buyer a smoking deal. You've got to take greed out of the equation and leave enough profit on the table for your buyer. And when you do that, they'll not only buy this house, but they'll buy the next one and the one after and everyone you can find them, because you've made their life so much easier. Now they can stay focused on getting the repairs done on budget, on time, and getting that buyer, getting that loan underwritten and getting that buyer in the house and getting their paycheck. Wholesaling is the best way for you to get started in the business. If you're new, it's by far and away the fastest, easiest money in real estate. If you're in the business, if you're doing short sales or rehabs or commercial stuff, this is the perfect way to fill in the gaps in your cash flow. For entrepreneurs, especially in the real estate business, the cash flow curve is sort of like a sine wave, right? It goes up and down, and so you get a big check, and boom, that hits your account, and then maybe the next 30, 45 days you don't see a check at all, and then boom, you get another big check. Well, wholesaling, doing what I'm describing here now, is the perfect way to fill in those gaps between those checks and smooth out your cash flow curve, if you will. So, I've been around a long time. I've done every possible type of strategy transaction you can imagine, and I continually come back to wholesaling because it's easy, and I like what's easy. And you know what? If you're dealing in entry-level homes, the risk is taken out of it because your buyer, that rehabber, landlord, investor, knows full well that the best place for them to be is selling to first-time home buyers. So they're shopping for these entry-level homes. You now provide them to them on a silver platter. That's the process, okay? So the target property, and we're going to get into the details. I've got a case study for you. We're going to get very specific here. The target property is a foreclosure in the entry-level neighborhood, and that is a junker, okay? So I want to dwell on that term junker for a minute. In other words, the house needs to need significant repairs. That's how you're able to buy it cheap enough so that you can sell it to your investor, rehabber, landlord, buyer at a price that suits them. Banks don't sell their move-in condition houses cheap enough for us to do that. So to be making offers on houses in move-in condition with the hope of wholesaling them is barking up the wrong tree. So let's focus on the junkers. Those are the ones that we can buy cheap enough to build in our wholesale profit margin and still sell it cheap enough for our investor rehab landlord buyer to snap it up. So that target property again, and if you haven't started taking notes, now would be a really good time to do it. Grab a pad and a pen and write that down for me. Foreclosure, entry-level, junkers. Now, one other thing I want to mention before we move on. Todd and I talked before we got started here, and he asked me if I would stay on at the end for some extra time to take questions. And I said, sure, I'm happy to do that because, you know what, I know that you are likely to have questions. And so when we're done with the training here in a little bit, we're actually going to sort of segue into a Q&A session where Todd's literally going to take your questions and ask me those questions, and I'll be happy to answer them for you so we can get real good clarity. We're going to do that at the end. And what you'll want to do is submit your questions through the GoToWebinar control panel. There's a little chat box there where you can type in a question. It'll go right to Todd, and then he'll ask me those questions, and we'll do as many as we can with the time that we have when we're done with the training here. So there's good news, right? Good reason to stay on till the end. Okay, so back to wholesaling. Let me just clarify one more time, then we're going to move on. When we wholesale a property, all we do is we find it, we flip it, and we forget it. We don't fix it. We don't deal with contractors. We don't go get a hard money loan. We don't need a private lender. We don't deal with all of that process. And then another great advantage is we don't deal with that end user buyer and the intricacies that come along with their mortgage. We don't deal with any of that. We just find it, flip it to our buyer, and go find another one. It's that simple. In fact, this strategy is so easy. Well, a caveman could do it. I mean, let's just face it. This is so simple, even a caveman could do it. And if he was here, he'd go stomping out of the room all humiliated right now because we made fun of him, right? He'd be like all mad and leave. Fact is, this is really simple. Okay, so how are you going to find good deals now? The idea is to find good deals and pass them along to our investor rehabber landlord buyers. Where are they? Well, there's certainly good deals in the MLS, the multiple listing system. You'll access that through a realtor if you're not one. And so when you go to the MLS looking for deals, I have some suggestions for you. Be sure to write these down. First, work with a foreclosure specialist realtor because they get it. And working with people who get it just makes sense. And when working with a realtor that doesn't get it and trying to, teach them the process as you go along, that's like pushing a rope uphill with your nose. It's a giant frustration. So eliminate that and work with a foreclosure specialist realtor. They're everywhere. They're all around you. They're easy to find. They present themselves as foreclosure specialists. Work with them. Then here's another very important fact for you to consider when you're going in the MLS. Look at the properties. Have your realtor look at the properties that have been in the MLS the longest. So in other words, they have the greatest number of DOM. That stands for days on market. The longer they've been on the market, the more likely the seller is to just, take your low offer. Some sellers hold out for more than they're ever going to get, and eventually they figure that out and they just dump the thing, and you want to be the one that they're dumping it to. Now, on that point, banks dump properties at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and the end of the year. And the reason is because they want to clear up their books. They want to try to move as many of these non-performing assets off their books at the end of their accounting period so that they go into the next accounting period with as clean a slate as possible. And so that timing is very, very powerful to understand. All right, so foreclosure specialist realtors, oldest listings first, greatest amount of DOM, days on market, and remember, keep in mind that banks dump properties at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and the end of the year. Then there's pre-list REOs, and we're going to focus on this because very few people know about it. And so what I'm about to share with you is literally going to separate you from your competition. See, the fact is you have competition in anything you do, in any business, in any industry, in any part of the country. And with real estate, there's no different. There's competition out there. So whatever you can do to separate yourself from the competition, to beat them to the good deals is very important. And this is one of those points, okay? Pre-list REOs are bank-owned properties. By the way, REO stands for real estate owned, Okay, so that's a bank-owned property. If there was a short sale attempted, it didn't work out. The bank went through pushed the property through the foreclosure sale process. Now they own it, the bank, and they need to get rid of it. But there's a period of time after they go to the sale and they take title to this property. There's a period of time where they got to clean up the title. They got to push it through their bureaucratic disaster area. Most banks are a mess. And that can take weeks and in some cases months. Okay, so it's during that period of time that this property is sort of sitting dormant. It's sitting vacant with no for sale sign on it. However, the realtor, the REO listing agent, write that one down, REO listing agent is fully well aware of the house because the bank has let them know about it so that they can begin the process of what's called property preservation, getting the locks changed, the broken windows fixed, the lawn mowed, etc. So either the bank or the asset manager will look for help on this process from the REO listing agent before the property is actually for sale. So the clue there is that there'll be a realtor's lockbox on the door. That's how they get their guys inside. So when you spot a vacant house with no for sale sign in the yard with a lockbox on the door, you're looking at a pre-list REO. It's not for sale yet. It's not in the MLS. So therefore, no one knows about it. So what good does it do you and me? Well, what we do, and I'm going to explain this in detail in a minute, is we contact the REO listing agent, let them know we're interested in the property, and let them know that we want to make an offer on it as soon as they get the listing agreement from the bank, and that's coming sometime soon. So let them know we want to make an offer on this, and we're looking forward to working on this deal with that realtor and there being no other realtor involved. So the listing agreement finally comes. The listing agent gets it by email in most cases, right? On a Wednesday morning, they get the listing agreement. It is now officially for sale. And the agent has a grace period of 24 to 72 hours. It's a little different everywhere you go, but 24 to 72 hours before they're expected to put it in the MLS. And it's during that grace period that they'll present an offer to the bank from someone that they know who has expressed an interest in the property already. That offer goes to the bank, it gets accepted. Now the property goes in the MLS, but not as an active listing, which is typical. It goes in the MLS as a pending listing, which means it's already under contract, and almost nobody even pays attention to that. So this property came into the marketplace, but literally flew over the heads of your competition, landed quietly behind them, without your competition ever knowing the house even came into the marketplace. So huge advantage for you. But what's in it for the realtor? Why would they do it? Well, when there is no other agent involved, the realtor gets both sides of the commission and effectively gets a double paycheck. That's what's in it for the realtor. Show me an agent that doesn't like the idea of a double paycheck, and I'll show you a knucklehead, especially in this economy. So guys, if you're out looking for vacant houses with no for sale signs and lock boxes on the door, when you or your better yet your bird dogs spot those properties, you have a leg up over your competition and literally are going to do deals on houses they never even know about. How's that sound? Is that to your liking? Guys, I don't know if you know just how incredibly important what I just shared with you is. There are so few people who even know this. It's amazing. Now you do. All right, so